I don't need to know who the soulmate is. You. I don't need to know who I'm most compatible with. You. I don't need to know who is plotting to kill me. You. Hello and welcome to Talk of the Townsends. I'm Benedict Townsend.
And I am Hannah Townsend.
And my goodness, this is a podcast about achieving enlightenment, finding incredible wealth, but also mainly just about chatting and TV. And so far, we've not really touched on the enlightenment or the wealth part, but at some point we'll get to it.
For sure. I feel like we should change the manifesto each time. You know, like Sabrina Carpenter changes the outro for nonsense every time. I feel like we should ad-lib.
But with like more and more extreme innuendos, like Sabrina.
Yeah, they're getting juicy.
They're kind of single entendres at this point.
I saw this TikTok that was like, I will never skip a video of her singing that little feather. I'm so sorry for your loss. And I'm like, I never skip those videos. I've seen it 100 times. Her in a little different outfit saying that and walking away. I will always watch. What's that thing that's like, if she's got 100 fans?
I am one. If you've got one fan, it's me. She's got no fans, I'm dead.
Yeah, that's me with that video.
It took me so long to understand that when I first saw that. I was like, the maths of
You doing the maths.
I was like, me minus me, no fans.
I was having a late night thought last night, and I think this one's pretty good. So here's the question, right? If you die.
Okay, well, I don't like this.
And when you die, you get to ask 5 stats from your life.
Ooh, yeah.
But only 5. So it could be something simple like, how many bagels did I eat in my life? Or
probably wouldn't go with that.
Or it could be super dark. You could be like, what did people say about me? Like, you could know, like, were people mean about me? Or, like, I also was thinking you could say, like, out of all the people in the world, where was I ranked funniest? Or where was I ranked, like, most interesting? Or did I do the most things?
So it's just, you can ask 5 questions that will be answered about your life.
About your life, but, like, statistics.
Okay.
And you only get 5. And it's like, what would you want to know? Would you want to know, like, the inside goss of, like, was anyone plotting to kill me ever?
Statistically speaking.
That's a question you could ask.
There was a 23% chance someone was trying to kill you. What am I supposed to do with that information?
Maybe the stats is throwing off a bit, but you get the gist, right?
This is like the thing I used to say about how I wish when you died there was a magic computer where you could Google stuff.
Yeah, I think I said that. So anyway, these are the stats.
Okay.
Do you want to hear some of mine?
Yes, I'll have a little ponder of mine, but lay it on me.
Okay. One of mine is, was anyone in love with me and didn't confess their feelings?
Why would you want to know that?
Number 2, who was I most compatible with?
Okay.
One of these.
You don't need a magic person to tell you that, huh?
This note was from 1:03 a.m. So bear in mind that this was like.
This was your late.
I was super tired. It said, "What was the food I enjoyed eating the most?" But actually, as I was coming here, I was like, maybe I'd want to know, like, what did I eat the most in my life?
Interesting. I have had this thought before where I'm like, I love James Bond.
How many hours?
I'd love to, or like how many times I've watched each film.
Oh, yeah.
Because some of them, it probably is like 3 times. And I'm like, what? Because some of them, it's like 50 times.
Right.
It's probably the same with like Simpsons episodes. I'm
yeah.
How many times have I seen Marge versus the monorail?
Yeah.
In my life.
So you're not bothered about...
Classic episode.
So you're not bothered about who's plotting to kill you?
No, I don't need to know who the soulmate is. You. I don't need to know who I'm most compatible with. You. I don't need to know who's plotting to kill me. You. You all the way down.
Okay, so James Bond, Simpsons, anything else? Anything else you really want to know? Like, how many times did you cry?
Who was the person alive at the same time as me in the world
who looked the most?
Who looked the most like me?
That's good.
And where were they?
That's good.
Because I'd love if there was like a guy in Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
Who was just like, oh yeah, he's a computer analyst in Uzbekistan and he's your twin and you never knew. Actually, he'd probably be in like Ireland. I feel like I've got a relatively Irish look.
Yeah, statistically.
Speaking of statistics.
Statistically.
Yeah, I'd love to know who was my secret twin.
That's great.
I'd like to know, like, who was the most beautiful person alive when I was alive?
Well, me.
Yeah, I guess that's already answered. I guess what I'm interested in is there's so many people in the world, right? But you only ever hear about a very small number of famous people. So, like, you know, the sexiest man alive is always like Ryan Gosling. But you're choosing from a pool of 30 people. But like, what if the sexiest man alive actually was a fisherman from Mongolia that no one's ever heard of?
I just think the way that you're approaching these statistics is so strange because it's like, it's not really about your life. You're not like, how many times did I cry? You're like, who else? You're always
I'm a curious cat.
You're always thinking of other people.
I guess I just know myself so well.
Do you not want to know how many bagels you've eaten?
Okay. but if it's like, in your life, it probably wouldn't be that high.
Right.
It'd be like, in your life, you ate 104 bagels. I'd be like, wow, damn.
Damn.
Could have hit the big 105 if I'd really stuck with it.
What do you think is the thing you've eaten most in your entire life? Bread?
The annoying answer is like rice, right?
Yeah. That's good content.
Probably as like a food stuff. Like, yeah, rice or pasta, bread.
Cool. But of...
What exciting. That was caviar. Like, what was I going to say that was going to be exciting?
Fair.
What was the moment in my life where I was statistically the happiest?
Oh, really nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I would also want to know what was my closest near-death experience that obviously wasn't the one that killed me.
Oh, yeah.
The sliding doors.
Or what was my closest near-death experience that I was unaware of?
Of course, that's what I'm talking of.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Of course, that's what I'm saying.
You do think about that sometimes.
Why would I be asking?
Yeah, like a time you were walking down the street and a piano fell behind you and you
had no
didn't
idea.
notice because you were listening to Sugar Babes on your Walkman. It's 5 questions.
Yeah, you get 5. It's like that thing, when people are like, what 5 condiments would come out of your hands? And people...
It's just like that.
No, but it's similar.
Yeah.
And I think someone I know was like, anti-bac. And I'm like, it's kind of weird.
Why would you want to be drinking anti-bac out of your...
I think it's just it's easy, isn't it?
Well, it's quite good, though, because the rest of your fingers would probably... Should we quickly do our 5 condiments?
Yeah.
Even though it's not the food episode. That was last episode.
Oh.
And what a food episode that was.
What's the theme of this one? Death.
The theme of this one is changes. The theme of this one is murder under the sea. It makes sense to have anti-bac in one of them because the rest of your fingers would probably get quite sticky from all the condiments coming out of them. So you could just do a quick cleanse. You put the anti-bac on the thumb so you can go...
I'd want like Aesop soap.
Oh, pricey. Nice. Because also you could do it into bottles and sell it on the second-hand market.
Fantastic.
You're profiting off your freakish fingers.
Tell me your 5.
Okay, maybe like Tabasco.
Yeah.
I mean, ketchup. It's always good to have ketchup. Honestly, maybe just water.
Yeah. You'd have a Dr. Pepper.
Maybe a Dr. Pepper, yeah.
Cherry
or a Dr.
normal?
Pepper cherry, maybe, yeah. I do love a Dr. Pepper cherry.
What water? Just normal?
Yeah, like an Evian, a fancy water. Dasani, something like that. Maybe like a coffee, like a little latte or something.
Smart.
Yeah. Although, obviously, non-sweetened. And then, I'd carry packets with me if I wanted like a bit of sugar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
What about you?
I do honey, Evian, a coffee.
How much honey are you consuming?
I just love honey.
You
Also, if
bee?
you're ever feeling a bit, lethargic, a little shot of honey.
Is that true?
Never goes wrong.
Hannah's tip of the day.
Honey, coffee, Evian, and then I'm not that asked about anything else.
It's good for a buzz. That's right. There's a delayed joke. So you're just going to leave one of the fingers?
No, I'm leaving 2 fingers currently. Maybe a condiment.
Throw an HP sauce in there just for a laugh.
Mayo. TV, we have been watching Such Brave Girls.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. Do you want to describe it?
No.
Okay. It's a BBC sitcom by, I think her name is Kat Sadler.
Yeah.
She wrote the show and she's in it. And her real life sister is also in it. And they play sisters. Not exactly a real acting leap, is it? But they do a wonderful job. And there's another actress whose name escapes me, but she was in Sherlock. She played Molly in Sherlock. I think Molly. And she's great. She plays their mum. And it's just basically about sisters and their mum.
It's very well written. It's very British humour. It's kind of in-betweeners-y.
Yeah.
It's very, un-PC.
It's like very pleasantly dark and kind of pessimistic.
Yeah.
And kind of like, yeah. And kind of realistic in the way that I guess, I don't know how old they're supposed to be in the show.
We were so confused at how old they're supposed to be because they're still living at home, but they're obviously not at school.
The actresses are like 30, but it's like, are they teenagers?
But they don't need to address
it. It doesn't really
like
matter,
that.
does it? Yeah.
There was a bit that really made us laugh when she was like, she's like a deer in headlights. But secretly, I know she wants the car to hit her.
Yeah.
So
her mum saying that
really
about...
made us laugh. The mum is great in it.
Yeah, everyone is good in it. It's a really, really good show. And it's directed by...
Simon.
You said at some point that it feels like The In-Betweeners. It's directed by Simon Bird from The In-Betweeners.
I said she's doing a bit of a Simon Bird.
You did?
But I actually meant the other one. The other In-Betweeners with the little hair. That's who I meant. But I said Simon Bird and you went, funny fact.
Oh, you meant Simon, the character.
I meant Simon, the character.
Right.
And I meant she's doing a Simon from Between Us, and then you said he directs this, and then I looked up. Anyway, it was so much fun.
Simon Bird, who plays
Will,
directed it.
Yeah.
And I saw a really good quote, because I did what I always do when I enjoy a TV show or a movie. I go and read the whole Wikipedia page. And there was a great quote where they were like, even though there's like kind of dramatic themes in the show, they were like, we always wanted it to be a comedy, not a comedy drama. And that's what I really like about it, is that it is just a pure comedy. Like the goal of it is just to make you laugh.
Yeah.
They're not stopping down to have like an emotional...
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the thing that they said on Seinfeld? The rule on Seinfeld was no hugging, no lessons. The characters never hug and the characters never learn any lessons.
Fun.
I mean, Seinfeld's a more extreme example, but I like how much it is just a sitcom. Kind of refreshing.
Because we see that far too often these days, that like a movie feels like it needs to have a romance plot. It needs to have some sort of like dramatic heist scene. It needs to have this. And it gets to the point where like, you know, we like a simple film. We like a slow, simple film.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes they try and add too much and then don't properly...
Well, it's like how every comedy film of the last 10 years was an action comedy, where the last 15 minutes were like the Rock, you know, doing a car chase. That's what we liked about Bottoms. It's just a pure comedy film.
Pure comedy. Pure silly.
Pure silly.
Silly.
I want some silly. But yeah, shout out to Such Brave Girls on iPlayer. That was a good show. We actually have a podcast update, which is pretty rare, because you may remember all the way back in episode 1, I was talking about my struggles to get an agent, right? And I did actually have 1 or 2 people reach out to me after that, which was quite nice. Still don't have an agent, but they reached out.
Yeah. They reached out to just laugh at you.
They reached out to be like, just to confirm, no thank you.
Loser.
Yeah. And then one of them said, oh, we might have a potential sort of a campaign for you to be involved with.
Yeah.
Put me forward for it. And then it was like a kind of jokey thing.
Well...
And then the people came back, and their words were, he's too naturally funny for this campaign. And I was like, I've never been so insulted and so complimented in all my life. It was one of the nicest rejections.
The agency were just baffled by it. They were like, we have no idea what this means.
Yeah, I don't know what it means. I mean,
but also, you're not. What are they all about?
Oh, thanks, Han. I should have got it.
They hadn't watched enough content.
Yeah.
They should have watched this.
Of all the things to be rejected for, that is a weird one.
I think it was here's the thing. It was an educational piece, and there was some seriousness in it, and you were too much fun. And that's never a bad thing.
I would just do goofs and spoofs.
Goofs and spoofs.
If I die and go to heaven, I would say I'd love to know statistically how many ad campaigns I could have got if I just was less funny. I could have been the face of We Buy Any Car or another brand. That's not a dig at whoever does the We Buy Any Car adverts. That's just the only brand I could think of at a moment's notice. I think we've got to start doing exciting transitions and segues in this show.
Starting right now.
Yeah. Go!
So I was wearing a dress the other day, and you know when you wear a dress?
Yes.
And you feel...
Go on.
I felt really like nice in it, and it was just, I was so deeply humbled so far. So I had this little blue dress on, and I went to the bathroom. We were out for breakfast. I went to the bathroom, and then like I was like washing my hands. It was one of those like, you know, modern bathrooms where it's like the shared sink area. And this guy was like, oh, by the way, your dress is open at the back. And I was like, that's really embarrassing because my dress isn't open at the back. This is just how the dress is. It was like a little tight at the top, and then there was like a little bit of my back showing. But then I was like, I'm gonna have to go out. He left the bathroom, and I was like, I'm gonna have to go out. And he's going to think, why didn't she do her dress up?
Right.
Because I went, oh, thank you, obviously, because what else do you say? I was like, oh, thanks so much. And then I was like, this is so embarrassing. But anyway, obviously I did that because I was like, I can't sew the dress up in here. So I went out, you know, I was like, I came back to the table. I told you, I was like, the worst. Anyway, we then moved on. We went from breakfast to a bar. And this guy saw me there. He was at the bar, an older gentleman. And he came up to me and he was like, that's a lovely dress. And I was like, things are picking up, finally. And he was like, and if I might say, it's a lovely conservative blue. And I was like, shoot me. I was like, what?
I hope I can count on your vote.
Yeah. And he was like, I'm not supposed to say that anymore, am I?
A lovely conservative blue.
And I was like,
so
he was like, and let's open at the... No, it wasn't.
Yeah. They really achieved all the goals of what you wanted.
It was a real joy to wear.
An eye catcher, a political statement.
Yeah.
I have to say, if I saw a woman who I didn't know in a shared bathroom space and she had an open back dress, I don't think my brain would immediately go to like, the dress is broken.
Well, I guess he thought, oh, she's not been able to do it up at the back. Like, obviously, he was trying to be nice.
A good Samaritan. Maybe I'm just a very unobservant person.
Let's talk jelly.
Oh no, this is Hannah's latest obsession.
My latest TikTok obsession is this person. I think he's got a relatively small following, but he has gone with a theme and really run with it. His whole account is just him making videos of jelly. So he has like vintage jelly molds and, you know, just a whole selection of stuff. And he does these big reveals. I think he went viral. I think he had a clip where he like turned out a jelly and he came through to all his friends and he was like, who wants jelly? And it was just silence from his friends and none of his friends moved their legs.
I think you're underselling the appeal of this, which is that it is not simply a man making jelly. Every video is like a sort of liminal backrooms nightmare kind of video. Unintentionally, there's just a real weird dreamlike quality to every
100%.
video. Like the one you said where he's so excited, he walks into this room and these men look at him as if he's a total stranger who's walked into their house and he goes, who wants jelly? And they just don't even reply. They just stare at him as if he's like, who is this? And then he walks in, none of them move their legs.
Which is so mean.
He then takes a really long time to reveal a sort of half-cooked jelly. And they're sort of laughing, and it's like, is this a joke? And you got hooked. You started watching every single jelly video, and there's a lot of videos.
And I look for updates. I look for jelly updates. I've never wanted a jelly. I've never, ever. Like, I'm not into jelly.
There's one where he makes the jelly in the kitchen, and then he goes out into the garden, and then he does this, like, really this weirdly long haunted alleyway to, like, a little balcony area. It's like, where is this? Where does this man live?
Sometimes there's little chopped up fruit in the jelly.
Yeah.
Have you ever liked a jelly as a dessert?
I like jelly. I don't know if I'd want one of his haunted jellies. No offense to that man.
Fair.
Sorry to that man.
Sorry to that man. My new favourite dessert is we went to the Ivy last night and we had the best
mince pie.
Mince pie.
It was so good, we can't remember it. They were like little mini
I built it up and then I was like, what do we have? I could count on 4 hands the amount of times I've had a mince pie in my life. I'm saying like I've had it less than 20 times. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I'm not a maths guy, but I think that checks out, yeah.
So I could count on 4 hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've had it like 15 times.
Is that a new expression or is that...
I don't know, it made sense in my head. I could count on 4 hands how many times I've had a mince pie.
Okay.
Like genuinely in my lifetime, I think I've had about 15.
If only there was a way.
Last night I'd had...
If only there was a statistical way you could know.
Last night I had 2 mince pies, which statistically I've had less than 1 a year for 30 years. So that has blown the statistics. To have 2 in one night is...
But Hannah, they were mini mince pies. Together they make one.
No, it still counts.
Anyway, it was really tasty.
It was so good. Like, genuinely.
What was
brandy cream. And
Brandy
then little
cream.
sugared
Orange?
orange segments. Stunning.
Yeah.
I want to go back.
It was really good. So shout out this week's sponsor.
The Ivy. The Ivy Cafe.
Mince pies.
Would happily go back.
How do you feel about a Christmas pudding?
If anything's, it's same with gravy. If anything is like caked in cream, I'll eat it.
Yeah, a nice double cream or what is it, brandy butter?
I'm less of a brandy butter gal.
Do you want a Christmas pudding flaming?
I'm not bothered. I just want the cream.
For the international viewers and listeners, we have Christmas, the most like Charles Dickens thing in the world is like this pudding, and you put a £1 coin in it, and then you set it on fire.
Yeah.
And it tastes pretty bad, I will say, pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
But with the brandy butter, which is basically just alcohol, you can put it together.
And on that note,
a
Merry Christmas to all.
And to all, see you next episode. Will we do another episode before Christmas?
Probably not.
Who knows?
All right.
This has been Talk of the Townsends. Make sure to follow on TikTok, YouTube, podcast places.
That's a wrap.
And that's a wrap. I'm Benedict Townsend.
And I have been Hannah Townsend. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.